Okay, alright, so I thought I would try to record this maybe a second time. I recorded a video a short while back and I uploaded it, but I didn't make it public. For some reason I thought it might just be better to wait. I don't know if I want a little more time to meditate on it, or I don't know if, don't really know the reason. But I think maybe it was when I made the video, a lot of stuff was coming to me at once. And so I think usually in times like that, sometimes I'll have things hit me hard, and sometimes they'll hit me in cycles, and then I get excited about them, and then I'll ramble and make a video and not articulate the idea well, first of all, and then it usually ends up falling flat. I think because I'm overly excited about something and I can't properly convey the depth of it, or it's something that's given to you in the moment that you're supposed to just let sit in the womb for a little bit, or chew on it a little longer. But anyway, so the idea, I'm going to try to tie all this in. I was listening to the most recent Grail country video, and it's about the body. I can try to throw the link in below. It's really, really good. And they get into, they bring up the question, why do we have this body, and why is it so soft? Why all this suffering? And so they're just exploring all those questions. And so I think I can tie this in. But they're talking about suffering, and that's something I didn't hear of much growing up in the church, the circles I grew up in, about suffering for Christ, or yeah, it's all over the scripture, but I just didn't hear about it a whole lot. But yeah, we're supposed to count it joy in our sufferings. In Philippians, it talks about suffering the loss of all things and being conformed to Christ's death. So anyways, there's this one point in the video, and Sherry said something, and she said she remembered when she was 5, praying for wisdom. And like, first thought that came to my head was like, oh shit, why would you do that, Sherry? Like, why would you do that? But it's kind of weird. I don't know if I did the same thing as a child, but I remember always really liking Solomon and the fact that he asked for wisdom. And so I know I've kind of had this weird obsession with wisdom as well. But with wisdom, if you actually pray for it, is you're asking for sorrow and grief. And you're asking for toil and torment. Because the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. So if that's wisdom isn't knowledge. But if the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God, then any piece of knowledge is going to be taken by wisdom, and wisdom's going to take it, and through all this labor and toil and distress is going to give life to that knowledge. In Ecclesiastes, it says, let me just look it up, because it's this weird verse and I always read it differently. I'm going to ramble too long in this video, I can already tell. Sorry. But it says, for wisdom is a defense as money is a defense, but the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it. So when I first always read that, I always thought that wisdom gives life to the person that has wisdom. But then I read it again, and I said the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it. And so then I circled it and circled knowledge and connected the two. And then I read it as wisdom gives life to knowledge, because any form of knowledge, you take it and you kind of put it in this womb that you could call the fear of God, and then you use that knowledge correctly. Which comes about sorrow and grief, though, because then you gotta, and a little bit of distress, because you gotta approach any form of knowledge with a reverence to the Most High. So, anyways, that being said, there's a praying for wisdom. There was 3. I told Mitch a while back that there's 3 things. I've always wanted wisdom, but especially the past, like, I know, especially from the beginning of 2019, I've prayed for sorrow as well. I've prayed for grief. I've prayed for bitterness, mourning, and woe. These things sound strange to most people, but I know there's something to them. I know they bring about life. So I prayed for the Holy Spirit. I want more of that. I want more wisdom, and I want more death. I pray for death. And so, but here's where I kind of want to tie this in and get at this whole thing is, when C.S. Lewis, when he wrote Chronicles of Narnia, I haven't read them, but I heard that Aslan sings the world into creation, and Tolkien has the same way. His world comes about through song. And so there's the Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon in the Bible. It's the first verse. It says, it says the Song of Songs, which is Solomon. So if you just pause and like think about that, it's the Song of Songs, the Song of all songs, like the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Like it's the song of all songs, the song above every other song. And so this is the song of creation. Because it was just recently this year, I don't know why I never put it together, but the Shalom, it's like Shalom is in the name of the Shulamite girl. That's the woman Solomon's doing this dance with. So the king, you could look at it as any king, but specifically you could kind of even say this is the king of wisdom. But you can look at it as any king, any idea, it maps onto so many things, but you could say the king is even any idea or any value, any virtue that is most high. It's on the throne, anything on the throne, but it has to become the martyr like Christ did. Christ embodies the pattern of this. And so shalom means peace, right? We know it means peace, but then there's also rest, because on the seventh day, shalom, Shabbat, like Sabbath, peace, rest. And then there's but with the peace, it's a peaceful sleep, right? Rest is death. Every night you go to bed and you rest and you practice death and you sleep, and you can go to sleep angry, or you can go to sleep bitter, or you can go to sleep content and forgiveness and peace and rest and wholeness. And so it's when the king is having this dance and this back and forth between the spirit of death, and she is she's not the grim reaper in this book. She's beautiful. She's his bride. And there's this refrain over and over. I mean, well, it just surrounds Solomon. Like Solomon's the same thing. Solomon, Shalom, like it means peaceable. His name actually means peaceable. He's the king of Jerusalem, Salem, Shalom, peace. His mother is Bathsheba, Sheba, 7. It's the seventh day. The queen of Sheba comes to him, Sheba, 7 again. It's just like all over the place. Then this book, though, I think is the Song of Creation, and it's this. I mean, just read through it. It's absolutely astounding. It is. They're seeking each other in the night too. Like in the nighttime, they go to find each other, and then they say, "Come with me. Let's go to the morning together." God, it's just so freaking beautiful. And it is that death, that communion with death, that communion with suffering, that communion with rest, peaceful sleep. It's when you find yourself the king, or you find. I don't know how to say it properly, because it's a pattern of all creation. Like it's a pattern of creation, it's a pattern of redemption, it's a pattern of restoration. It's all in this book, and that's why I don't know how to say it right. That's why it maps onto any king. Is what I'm saying. Is it maps onto like Jesus when he goes to the cross. He goes to Jerusalem. He goes up to the city, and then he's climbing up to Jerusalem. He's going up. He's ascending. He gets there, and then they crown him king. They say, "This is the King of the Jews." They're doing it mockingly, but they're still doing it, and it's written above him. The judge writes, "This is the King of the Jews," and they want them to change the sign and say no. Say, he said he was the King of the Jews, and Pilate's like, "I've written what I've written. It says he is the King of the Jews." And then he becomes the martyr. And so it's the king, the highest, the ideal is it takes a leap from being king. It enters into death. It gives its life willingly. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own. It gives its life willingly to include the other. And it says, and forgiveness is wrapped in that too, because any virtue you're attaining towards, it kind of has to, you're never going to reach it, so it's kind of always dying of itself and pulling you still to it. It still sits like as the highest, but it's continually entering in this type of like death or martyrdom to forgive you for falling short, yet still call you to it. And still, it draws you in, while lets you be, it draws in the other, in that way. I don't know. That's, the language is not, I feel like it's, the language I'm using might be helpful to people I've spoken to recently, but anybody that hasn't been in my conversations might not be following. Hopefully I'm conveying this right, but and this is somewhat new to me as well, but if you read through, I just started, because I used to read the book of Song of Solomon, and I used to think like, there's so many different ways you can read it. It's Jesus and his bride, it's God and Israel, it's but then you could say it's you and this lady you're pursuing, or this dance back and forth is wisdom. But then now it's like, no, it's shalom. It's peaceful sleep. It's death. It's rest. And I'm having this, you yourself are having that dance, any value, any king, everybody, everything in life does this dance with shalom. Like you could look at a plant and it does the same thing. Everything in creation, and in the way it and that's how creation happens. But then that's how it's, like I said, that's how it's redeemed. That's how it's reconciled as well, because the ideal gives of itself, and enters into this peaceful rest to watch the garden grow. I don't know any other way to say it. God, I don't know that there's a better way to say it either, because this book is written so poetically and so beautifully. Like if you try to reduce it to too much of a logical language, it just kills it. But just read it with that perspective, and it's just like that's what love is. It's this interplay right here, and everything's created through love, and it's all. And this is the Song of Songs, the song of all songs.